So, we've got a lot to talk about. I missed you guys. I wanted to take a little time off to kind of formulate a game plan in terms of what content I was going to make moving forward. I actually didn't intend on coming back until early March, and after making a 3-part series, including a Q&A on Motor 1 and Metro State, I certainly couldn't have predicted that I'd be cutting my hiatus short to upload another Jeremy Dewitte video. But here we are. There have been some major developments regarding this case in the last week. For starters, I found out that Jeremy is aware of my channel, and for the last 3 days, he's been commenting these weird links to his Chomo vlog on my videos. In case you haven't heard, Metro State also has an official YouTube channel. It consists of Jeremy giving updates on his many legal battles, and also a day in the lifestyle vlogs following Jeremy and Metro State. In typical fashion, Jeremy has the like and dislike bar hidden and all of the comments set to approval only. Coincidentally, the 2 videos he linked in my comments section have actually proven to be by far the most interesting videos on this channel, at least to me. Although, I assume it's not for the reason Jeremy was commenting them. The first was his response to an Orange County District Attorney resigning from his position. The district attorney cited improper or unjust proceedings as his reason for doing so. It just so happens that this was the same DA overseeing the Jeremy Dewitte case. Upon seeing this, Jeremy wasted no time in uploading a video in which he would imply that the resignation of the DA was a direct response to the unfair treatment and harassment inflicted upon him by the corrupt Orange County Sheriff's Department.
Hey guys, what's going on? Just cutting in with you right now, kind of breaking news. Just got an alert from the internet and some contacts that we have inside the sheriff's office. So the prosecutor, Stephen Casey Miller, has supposedly resigned from the state attorney's office. The going story right now, information is being confirmed, but from what we understand, the breaking news is accurate and confirmed that he is resigning due to the fact that the state attorney's office asked him to do unethical and prosecute unethically and follow up on my case unethically. And for some reason, Stephen Casey Miller felt that the requests were unethical and unwarranted. So what we're seeing right now is he's resigning from the state attorney's office with said reasons, and in fact in that report saying that he was resigning due to the fact that it was in reference to my case and the prosecution of Jeremy Dewitte. Supposedly Stephen Casey Miller is retiring from the state attorney's office due to the fact that the state attorney's office asked him or requested him to continue his pursuit of me unethically and illegally, is the words that were used by Mr. Miller. If that's the case, then Mr. Miller was never really on the wrong side.
Not long after uploading his video, sources reporting on the district attorney's resignation would have begun stating specifically that Jeremy's case was not the case named in the resignation letter of the DA. And then while I was preparing my response video for that bullshit, the unthinkable would happen. The long-awaited and coveted Dr.Phil show episode featuring Jeremy would finally air, and boy, oh boy, oh boy, besides a couple of off-limit topics that I assume were Jeremy's conditions for agreeing to do the show, this did not disappoint whatsoever. My favorite part of the interview was getting to watch another human being react to Jeremy in real time. Like, Jesus Christ, the whole episode was just full of gems. YouTuber and former MP Blue Bacon would be featured as somewhat of a consultant for the episode.
Over the course of time, I've learned that there's a lot of haters for myself. There's even a guy that started an online website that has been receiving the leaked videos of my body camera that was confiscated by law enforcement. There's even an online channel of a gentleman by the name of Sergeant Blue Bacon. He's interviewed me once.
He started his own company so he could escort funerals.
He even created a parody musical of some of the videos that are out there on social media platforms saying that they were of me. However, a great deal of those videos weren't even true to that fact.
He claims he acts within the law, but that's highly disputable.
I shake my head wondering to myself, don't people have things better to do or worry about the ongoing pandemic that's out there?
Over the past 10 years, Jeremy has been able to get out of trouble in a way that makes him think that he's not doing anything wrong. And now that 10 years worth of trouble has caught up with him, everything's crashing down around him. I have a background in military police. I'm a private investigator. It's my job to find out the facts. I started a social media page where I'm known as Sergeant Blue Bacon, which allowed me to explain legal aspects of complicated things to people all across the world. Earlier this year, I discovered a YouTube channel that had acquired footage of Jeremy Dewitte and his company in action. He himself is quite a character.
Dumb in a blue car.
I posted the videos on my YouTube channel, and I had the chance to interview Jeremy.
I started to allow my security guys to start wearing tasers and the pepper ball weapons.
One of the things that I found very interesting when interviewing him was his insistence that he present a hard target by dressing similarly to a police officer. He's going to great lengths to portray himself as law enforcement so that he isn't messed with. Jeremy is impersonating a police officer. Jeremy is a narcissist and a compulsive liar. When I think about what he's doing, I feel pretty angry. The way he dresses, the shirt, the badge, he wears a bulletproof vest, carries a baton. He plays the part well. Most people think that he is a police officer. In fact, when they ask him if he is a police officer, he doesn't usually say no.
I think he did a really great job of sticking to his guns and not getting wrapped up in the television production. So 5 points, Blue Bacon. Definitely go check out his channel. Subscribe to him. Eventually, towards the end of the episode, Jeremy takes a polygraph test. He told you he would, Court. And the results are probably exactly what you expect.
This guy's terrific, right?
Yes, he's actually very professional.
Okay, so you have no problems with him as an examiner or the test?
No, sir.
It all went professional and everything. So
very sharp.
Good, bad, or indifferent, you have no issues?
Not at all.
With it whatsoever. Gil, when it comes to polygraph exams, you're also a countermeasures expert. Explain what countermeasures are.
Countermeasures are behaviors that you can do during specific questions on the exam to enhance physiology on those areas and appear as a truthful individual. That's why we have activity sensors on the floor for your feet, activity sensors on the chair for core movements, and the rubber tubes that go over your chest and your stomach do record upper body movements, upper body activities. So if you were to try to manipulate any of those, we actually have the sensors that tell us this data is true, this data is not true.
Did that play into the test yesterday?
Yes, it did.
But ultimately, with your expertise and the screening devices, were you able to get a clean test?
I did.
Okay. Well, let's look at the results. Question number one, have you knowingly misused your given funeral escort rights to appear as someone empowered by law enforcement? And your answer was?
No.
2, have you falsely presented yourself to a citizen as someone empowered by law enforcement? And your answer was?
No.
3, during the course of your duties, have you knowingly used authority exclusively given to law enforcement officers? And your answer was?
No.
No. So you answered no to all 3 questions.
Yes.
And what was the result?
It is my opinion that Mr. DeWitte was being deceptive to the target questions.
Okay, and what numerically, what would he have to have scored to have come out deceptive?
This methodology calls for a -3 or less in order to be in the deceptive range. Mr. DeWitte scored at a -37.
So this was not a close call.
This was not a close call.
At no time was I lying. I know that I was very nervous. I know that this is my life that we're fighting for, but I can't answer that. I know I wasn't lying. I'm not being deceptive. I understand what he's saying about the way I was, my posture and the way I was reacting is what the deception is from, but I'm not being deceptive.
Now, following the polygraph test, Dr. Phil has his get real moment with Jeremy, and through tears, Motor One appears to realize the error of his ways, and I know I'm a sucker for ever believing this at all, but a small part of me really thought Jeremy was poising for a life pivot.
Right this very minute, if you could see yourself through my eyes,
Sure.
you would feel a whole lot better about yourself.
I appreciate that.
And you've got to make the decision at some point that you're okay. I hate to see you blow your life up, blow your business up, blow your family livelihood up, because you're playing into this not being enough. You know, you are enough. I mean, you got a beautiful family. But you've got to stop trying to justify and rationalize and explain away these things and own them, fix them, and move on.
Yes.
And I'm willing to get you help to do that with, if you're willing to.
I mean, there was a hope. That hope would last all of about an hour until the Metro State YouTube would comment a link to this video on my channel.
Make sure that the pressure is even throughout the cuff. Not like trying to feel your biceps.
Hey, just feeling my breast, so I mean.
Right. I'm just looking for any excuse. Right?
Yeah, right.
All right, arm over. Perfect.
I told that to one of the arresting officers because he's been giving me tickets for 10 years. I said, "You finally got to touch me while you were patting me down. You finally got to touch me, huh?"
3 and not 8.
Okay.
Okay, so you're at the number 5. Even though you did write the number. Have you ever lied to loved ones?
No.
Have you ever knowingly misused or given funeral escort rights to appear as someone empowered by law enforcement?
No.
Have you ever lied about your finances?
No.
During the course of your duties, have you knowingly used authority exclusively given to law enforcement officers?
No.
Are you afraid that I will ask a question?
Yeah, it appears as though instead of working on the flaws highlighted by the failure of the polygraph, Jeremy opted to taking an independent lie detector test to try and nullify the results of the polygraph he took on Dr. Phil. First of all, let me just say I am by no means an expert on the subject of polygraph tests, and I'm aware that they are not admissible in court, so I'm not prepared to comment on their scientific accuracy. However, upon watching his independent lie detector test video, a couple of weird little details would stand out to me. For one, the questions seemed really vague and not typical of what is usually asked in a polygraph scenario. Then there were the answers. For some reason, Jeremy chooses to lie on questions that can be easily disproven by video evidence. Also, his narcissism would be on full display, as he would sit there with a straight face and say he's never told a lie, never tried to misrepresent himself, or ever impersonated a police officer. Any logical, normal person would have the wherewithal to understand that passing on those questions would nullify the credibility of the test itself. But this is Jeremy we're talking about. So, hey, at this point, my bullshit meter was engaged, fully engaged. And I began noticing even more inconsistencies with this test. For one, the results were not demonstrated or shown by any corresponding graphs or charts, and instead were provided with a recording of a piece of a conversation between Jeremy and the person administering the
You
polygraph.
falsely presented yourself to a citizen as someone empowered by law enforcement. Pass. That question is pretty straightforward.
Right.
And it clarifies, have you falsely presented yourself?
Right.
Pass, no problem. During the course of your duties, have you knowingly used authority exclusively given to a law enforcement officer? I'm going to say that again. During the course of your duties, have you knowingly used authority exclusively given to law enforcement officers? I don't like that question.
Yeah.
Every time we said it, the more I thought about it, it basically can be construed as, during the course of your duties, have you used law enforcement officer authority? Well, per statute, like you're saying,
I'm able to direct traffic.
I get what he's trying to do there.
Mm-hmm.
He's trying to say, have you knowingly used, like, outside, you know,
Right,
law
like
enforcement...
pulled somebody over or use red blue lights.
Right.
Right.
The problem with that question is it goes into a portion that it's not worded great. It leaves too much to the imagination. If you get asked more than 3 times, it doesn't mean you failed. It just means you're getting more data.
Right.
What he basically was implying is, well, I just want to get more evidence against you. That's,
Right.
for lack of a better word, it's bullshit. You don't do that to people because then you set them up to fail. So the second that he asks you that 4th time, you're going to go, oh my God.
Yeah.
It's not a science. And it never will be a science. I would say that you would pass. I would gladly say that. So, you know, I am technically a court-certified expert witness, so I could testify at any time in court. Fuck Dr. Phil. He can believe whatever he wants. Those people on the internet, who cares?
Right.
They just want to be angry.
During this exchange, the administrator makes some interesting comments. The scientific explanations given for the on-screen readings sound like a high schooler reading his synopsis for a book he didn't read. The face of the interviewer is blurred and their identity concealed. Jeremy does so, citing that he doesn't want them to be harassed by online trolls. Yeah, Jeremy, because people would be outraged at a polygraph company for doing their job. Anyway, and you know what? Son of a bitch, where have I heard that voice before? Wait a second. Freckly hands? Dark blotch on blurred face? Weird effeminate vocal fry? Holy moly, sweet mother of moles, that motor too? Now, I can't prove this, but I would say there is at least some evidence that this entire scenario was staged by Jeremy and his brother. In his simple mind, he believed it would somehow restore his credibility, or at least what credibility he lost from the polygraph on the Dr. Phil show. What dipshit failed to understand was that the questions were only asked to demonstrate how delusional he was. The answers were already abundantly clear to any sane person, and by lying he demonstrated how insane he was. The test had nothing to do with proving whether or not these things happened. Jesus Christ, I'll stop ranting and I'll let Dr. Phil play us out. If you enjoyed this video, you know what to do. And I guess, you know what, I'm back. I'm back, you guys. Have a great rest of your day or night, whichever. Doesn't matter.
Let me ask you one question, Dr. Phil.
You've already asked me one.
Let me ask you another one then. Your absolutely beautiful wife, I would assume after how many years again you've been married?
44.
If she were to pass away tomorrow, the one person that you've spent 44 years with, and she was everything to you, you'd be the most emotional, distraught person you've ever thought of. And the company that you hired that is protecting you and getting you from point A to point B safely is doing it the professional way. And somebody decides that, you know what? Your funeral doesn't matter. Your family doesn't matter. It's more important for me to turn my high beams and hazards on and act like I'm part of the family or funeral and actually almost put your family in danger and almost cause accidents or hurt your own family that you understand that I'm keeping safe from point A to point B. Okay, so you understand that.
No, what's the question?
My question is would you not want me to make sure that your family's absolutely safe, no matter what it might take?
Okay, my answer has 2 parts.
Okay.
Part 1 is that is the clumsiest effort to deflect from everything I just told you that I think I've ever seen in my life.
Yes,
sir. Number 2, if I lost my precious wife, I wouldn't give 2 who was driving behind me and getting in the line. I would be totally focused on her.
right. And when I lost my son,
I thought the same thing, Dr. Phil.
Very sorry that you lost your son.